Hi, this is Brendan Davis from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog, and I'm doing a late night movie review. I know I haven't done these in a little while, maybe a couple of weeks now. It's about 1:15, and I just saw the film Mrs. K. I've been looking for this movie for a long time. It was actually really hard to get my hands on it. I don't know why. I ended up finding it on Yes Asia eventually. I can't remember if they were temporarily out of stock or what, but I feel like I've been trying to find this film for a long time. Mrs. K is a 2016 Malaysian Hong Kong film. It's directed by Ho Yuhang and it stars Kara Hui, Wu Bai, and Simon Yam. Uh, it's a movie about a woman who has to go into hiding after this big casino heist. You don't actually see the heist or anything, but it's backstory. And she ends up having to protect her family when people from her past start showing up, and eventually someone arrives looking for revenge. There's sort of a staggered lead up to this, and that's something that there's a lot of in this movie. The pacing and the flow feel very, I don't know, like real life. There's a lot of so it's odd because there's a lot of surreal elements, but there's also a lot of parts of the movie that just really feel grounded in reality, right down to sort of this scene is playing out kind of like two people at a table, not like you would have it play out in a film. They're just sort of the idiosyncrasies of how things tend to flow in real life seem to be going on in this movie. So I don't know how I feel about this film. I've been thinking about it since I finished, and I just finished watching it, and so it's not a whole lot of time to think. But I liked the action. The action was really good. In particular, I liked how the Kara Hui character she's not a standard action hero. And this goes for all the characters in the movie, but you really notice it with her because she's the protagonist. She's vulnerable. She's not invincible. She has all these incredible abilities. You see her very early on just disarming somebody and sensing danger a mile away, and she clearly has martial arts and gun skills and all the stuff that you expect in an action film, and she can use them incredibly well. But she's still a human being in this one, and so early in the movie she has to chase after somebody, and she gets winded, and so you get the impression, number one, it's been a while since she's been doing this, so maybe that's part of it. But you also feel like even like all the characters just seem to when they get hit, they feel it. When they get tired if they've been punching a lot. There's just this, and again, you don't see that a lot in action movies where fighting is the most exhausting thing that you can do. It's really tiring, and it's a kind of exhaustion that doesn't compare to many other types of exhaustion. I don't think you can't be more tired than when you've been fighting, and I feel like this movie kind of gets that. Like like in a lot of films, people will punch, kick, jump around, punch and kick some more. Drop a guy, go fight somebody else. They get knocked on the ground, they get up there. They're not winded at all. They might be breathing a little heavy, but they're not tired. And this, you really feel like the characters are getting tired. You can see them gas out, and so you can see the Kara Hui character jump into a situation strong, and then by the end of it, she's starting to wear down from just from the act of attacking people and being attacked. And so I liked that. I thought that worked, and also her character was vulnerable emotionally too. It wasn't just the physical stuff, and the same kind of went for all the other. Like everybody was sort of like a kind of behaved in a way that I would expect a real person to behave, and I found the villain an interesting villain. I don't want to give too much away, but it was a I don't know. You can kind of empathize with this character, though he does some horrible stuff. But you can kind of empathize with him, and he's got some interesting vulnerabilities himself. But that aside, there wasn't quite enough action in the movie. At least for me, there's a lot of waiting. There's a lot of sort of build up. This is a movie where, and I'm going to give a little detail away, but I'm going to try to avoid a lot of spoilers just because this movie, I think you really do the fun of the movie is finding out what's happening and all this. And I feel like if I give away too much, then I'm going to strip that away from people. So I'm going to give away one little detail, which I think people will be able to deduce just from the concept. And I knew this was coming early on, but the daughter gets kidnapped, and so a lot of the film is kind of waiting to sort of find out where she is, things like that. And and sometimes the heroes in the movie, they don't just keep pressing and pressing and pressing. Sometimes they go to the hospital. Sometimes they regroup. It just feels kind of more real world, and I liked that. I just felt like there could have been more action and excitement on top of that. There's a sort of lethargic pacing to it, and I found myself getting a little bit antsy and wanting things to happen. Some movies have done that, and I've been fine with it. The villainous, it did that. There's a whole section in the middle that gets a bit lethargic, but I was really engaged in it, and I was interested in the characters here. I was interested in learning about them. I just could have used some more action, I think, especially because I wanted to. I had probably built up in my head that this was going to be like a big action movie with Kara Hui, and it is an action movie. It's just that the action is a little more sporadic. Towards the end, it really cranks up, but you have to be patient for it, and it doesn't always play out the way that you might want it to. Some of the action is sort of it kind of comes in spurts. It's not. It takes a little while to really give you that payoff that you're looking for in an action movie. So I do have to say, at least it tried something that was, it's trying to do something, and I thought that was, there's some interesting things I think going on in the movie. I just was a bit bored, and but when we were getting the action, it was, I thought, really gritty, really well choreographed, and because the characters are vulnerable, especially the protagonist, you really were gripped by the action. You didn't know who was going to survive. You felt like there was real danger there, and I really had a hard time predicting how the movie was going to pan out. And I'm not going to say anything about how it pans out, but I had a difficult time knowing where the movie was going to go. So, yeah, I don't know. Some of the other aspects of the movie I should probably get into is the surreal moments. Again, there's and I don't want to give too much away, but there is this scene later in the film that I thought was really quite good, where there's sort of like a vision involving the Kara Hui characters' former associates that were involved in the casino heist, and I thought that was kind of a cool scene. There's a lot of like Ennio Morricone style music in the film, so it's weird. At times it's a really realistic movie, but then at times it feels much larger than life, especially when it's playing certain kinds of music. So yeah, I don't know. I think this movie, I'm probably gonna watch it again just because I really want to see how I feel about it on a rewatch. Right now, I think it's a little too lethargic. The action is good, but I really think there wasn't quite enough of it. And I thought all of the acting was great. All of the drama was effective. There were. Well, again, I don't want to give too much away, but there were two oddball characters in this that I kept sort of wondering about. And there were just these intriguing characters who are involved in the kidnapping, and I still don't know what to make of them. But yeah, it's a very odd movie because it just sort of blends these surreal elements with the the realism, and again the pacing is really kind of odd. But I've noticed that with a lot of more recent movies. So maybe that's just a you know maybe it's just a trend that I'm just kind of slowly picking up on. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, I think if you're a fan of Kara Hui, you should see the movie just for the fact of that. If you're if you like action movies, I mean, I would see it provided you are okay with a film that might not have a constant constant flow of action. Uh, and I don't know. I think it's worth checking out. I just would caution people that it's a little on the dull side, and it can I don't know. I get the feeling this is going to be the kind of movie that resonates differently with different people. I just wasn't as receptive to it as some other people might be, and I think a lot of it was I just found myself feeling like I was waiting, and I like when the movie decided to go left, I kind of wished it had gone right, that kind of thing. Um, but I will say this: it was these late night movie reviews are not easy to do late at night, and I didn't have any trouble making it to the end of the movie. So sometimes that's not always the case. Sometimes I'm fighting off sleep, and so for even though it is on the dull side, there was enough going on that I was interested. Um, so it wasn't like I thought it was a horrible movie. I just wish it was a better movie. I guess that's sort of where I'm coming at. I felt like it was an okay sort of middle of the road film, and I was really hoping for a little bit more. Um, and I don't know, maybe that'll change on the second viewing. I'm I had built it up a little bit in my head, but I think it was just the kind of film that uh, it just wasn't the sort of movie that I tend to go for when I'm watching an action film. So yeah, so anyways, the movie is Mrs. K, and you can get it I think at Yes Asia. That's where I got it. I got it from Yes Asia, and I had trouble getting it anywhere else. So and I don't think it wasn't terribly expensive. Uh, but here's what I would say. I would say don't just listen to me. Go and check out some other reviews of it, and make your decision based on on that, not just on my review alone. Because this is one of those films where I mean, one of the good things about movies like this is you'll go to a place like Rotten Tomatoes and there'll be nothing. There'll be like zero there. And the good thing about that is you really have to figure out for yourself what you think about the movie. There's no like you know getting a sense of what the consensus is, and I like that. I think that makes things much more interesting. But because again, this is a movie that you have to spend money on to watch, I want to be very cautious suggesting that people go out and buy the DVD. I would be reluctant to say, hey, yeah, you should go get this. But what I would say is, hear my point of view, hear some other people, and if you're still interested, pick it up. I'm glad I watched it, and I don't feel like I wasted my time. I just wanted more. Uh, so yeah. So again, and also, I gotta say, you know, it's always good to see Kara Hui in this kind of role, and even though there aren't that many scenes, if you're a fan, you're gonna want to see that. It's sort of like there was the what was the movie Dragon or Wuxia with Donnie Yen. She has a small fight scene in that, but it's worth seeing that movie just for that scene. Obviously the Donnie Yen scenes are all good and amazing, and it's worth seeing for those too. But if you just wanted to see the Kara Hui scene, that movie is worth watching for that alone. And I thought that was a much better use of her talents than this film. This film still made really good use of her acting, and we got to see some of the action. But that dragon scene with her is astounding. So yeah, so I'm rambling now. Late night movie review. But again, Mrs. K, and you know, I I I I I guess if I'm going to give it a numerical rating, uh, I'd say like 2.5 out of 5 stars, like dead in the middle. Uh, and that might go up or down on a rewatch, but for right now, it's right in the middle. Um, so yeah, so I'll let you go, and I will talk to you later.
God,